Hello, welcome. Today we're going to be doing a special review of Between Two Fires. It's a book, and we finally got our new name, Midnight Media. We'll have the new title card up, and we'll have a different intro for when we review products or books or anything that isn't film. This Movie Sucks is going to stay for our film reviews.
For ones we don't like.
Yeah, absolutely. But for right now, today, we're talking about
Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. His 2012 novel. It is a
medieval horror
tale. How do you want to start, guys? Do you want to do a synopsis? Do you want to do a little...
So I'd say brief synopsis of the story. Jack and Jayson, you two have read it most recent, so I'd say it's freshest in your minds. Why don't you guys walk us through it?
Give us the short version you just gave before we started recording.
What, that it's about a grumpy old man
Yes.
who was a knight, but they took his stuff away. A young girl who might be God or something. I don't know. I've only read 3/4 of the book. And a bug-eared priest. I'm a queer priest. I don't know. The point is he likes men.
You say a bug-eared priest?
No, that would have been less offensive.
Well, I was trying to... I was wondering if bug-eared was like some old English way of calling someone gay. You're using this like really bizarre Latin slang. You got bug-eared priest.
Latin?
I don't... It's you, man. You throw out
You
weird
and your boys
stuff.
are a bunch of bug
You know me, I'm always doing the Latin.
Anyways, it's an epic tale. It's got a lot of religious elements in it, a lot of horror and death, and
just to clarify, when you say religious, we don't mean like this, you know, supporting Christianity or something like that. It's
God
just...
couldn't do that.
No. Well, God could do that, but that's besides the point.
But he won't.
True. No, this is what he means is there's religious connotations. It's based in like the Christian mythos.
Yes.
And you know, that pantheon of gods and whatever they believe
One
in.
God. So
There's
that would
only
be
one.
Monotheistic.
Yeah, monotheistic, but I don't know. That's
But
always
yes,
confused
heaven
me.
is real, hell is real.
Just throwing this out
Lucifer.
real quick, because in the Christian religion, there's God, but there's also Jesus, who is God.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's the Holy Trinity.
So
don't
then-
forget the Holy Spirit. Don't sleep on that.
But he's
Yeah.
also God's son. So it's very confusing. And I've had many arguments with Colin. He's our production coordinator, works at the show, works at the station, sorry. And he's very Catholic. He's very Christian. And
I have to meet this person.
whenever I have questions, I ask him, and usually he just blinks several times, then walks away.
I can answer all of your Christian questions. You remember how I was raised.
Yeah, sure. But anyway, yeah.
This takes place during plague times in France. It starts in the north, and they are on a journey to Avignon, which is in the south, I believe. And
That degree's coming in handy.
yeah, and so basically, it's in a time when the Earth, or well, Europe, but that's their whole world, is just ravaged by the Black Plague. They call it the pest, which I like a lot in the book. They refer to it as the pest.
I do not recall that.
Well, in the later chapters you haven't read yet.
Oh,
The
okay.
church does. The cardinal and the pope. The great pest. Because they just...
That's what I called Josh.
And so basically it's all anarchy because so many people die that like everyone in power kind of dies. Everyone who was soldiers dies. So many of them that it just every society kind of collapses and there's no one growing food.
There's over 2 million people who died during the Black Plague.
Yeah, and they say there's like 3 different ways it kills people, like one with the boils, one with the coughs, and then there's another one, right, or something. I can't remember all 3, but like the boils is the worst one and you die the fastest and the most painful.
The Boobos.
The Beebles. And so it's about Tomas, a disgraced knight who basically got totally screwed and...
After fighting in the Crusades, right?
No, he was fighting the English at the Battle of Crecy.
He didn't fight in the Crusades?
No.
Which
I
Crusades?
vividly remember him saying he fought in the Crusades.
I don't.
No. He fought against the English.
Oh, okay.
They were making a crusade in the book. The Pope is declaring a new one and sending people there to redeem, saying that we have to kill people in the Middle East and God will make the plague go away.
And in the book,
So it's just like now.
Yes.
in the book, what was there was a reason while he was away that they sold his lands and they gave them to someone else, and I'm trying
The
to remember.
Count d'Evro came in and he was like, "Yo, I would like this, please," and slept with his wife. And
Yeah, while they lost
Took
at the
his
Battle
stuff.
of Crecy, he got wicked wounded. And while he was healing, some other dude like slid in. His boss also got killed. The guy he worked for,
Right.
basically like his duke or whatever he was. They had a special name for him in French that I can't say. And because he's dead, some other guy like slips in, takes his lands by like kissing butt and having the right connections, and also just takes Tomas's wife too and all his spoils and all his wealth. So when he returns, he's basically just like
He's
and then
destitute.
they get
Yeah.
him excommunicated.
and they also get him excommunicated too. I can't remember exactly how they do that, but they totally ruin his life basically.
So
I
he becomes a
believe-
brigand.
Yeah, he like fell out of favor somehow, and then it was the king or whoever it was. They
His
were just like,
regional king,
yeah,
yeah.
they were just like, all your lands, everything that you are is
All
gone.
your base, I belong to us.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
So and then that was before the plague came, and then
Right.
so when the plague comes, he becomes a full-on brigand and basically a highwayman,
And-
robber.
That's where our story begins. Literally, is Tomas and his two comrades are they're hiding out, or not hiding out, but they're taking a breather after
Eating
whatever
a
they
donkey.
did.
Hey, donkey, what's going on? You're a donkey. I like that.
What?
They're eating a donkey.
They are?
Yeah.
In the beginning.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought I remembered. What's the little girl's name?
Delphine, but you don't
Delphine.
find out until like 200 pages into it.
Yeah. Doesn't she like get mad at him for eating the donkey?
Yeah, she says its name. She's like, "You ate whatever his name is."
Yeah.
Well, then they find a new donkey though that. She
Well,
doesn't-
that's a different donkey.
yeah.
And they keep talking
That's the
about
special
eating that
donkey
too.
that God shows them. Or
Yeah,
they-
yeah.
Yeah.
That is what happened.
So the story is also littered with like miracles. That's obviously from the Christian ethos he was talking about. That's a lot of the way that they're helped from the higher powers through acts of God, like miracles. So basically, they'll get a message of like, go into that. For example, the donkey. They had no way to travel, and I think it's the priest, Matthew Hannicott is his name. God like sends him a message to like go up to this field and you'll find a donkey, and he does.
Yeah, the man who had owned the donkey was just trying to pick apples or something and fell and died.
He just collapsed. Yeah.
It's the priest, I think, who first realizes that the girl is special, right? Because Tomas just kind of, he kind of like hates God at the beginning. He's like kind of as close to an atheist as you could get back then, and she tags along because she doesn't.
She has nothing else.
Yeah,
Her family
and-
died of the plague.
I believe at first he's just like, get away from me. He doesn't want anything to do with it. But over time, he develops a bond with her. But he doesn't think she's magical. Or at first, he kind of worries that she's
a witch.
a witch. Or,
Yeah.
and it's the priest who's like, no, her miracles come from the divine.
Yeah. And speaking of, Matthew Hannicott is one of my favorite characters in the whole book. He's also a disgraced former priest, so also like Tomas, he's kind of a societal misfit by this point when the story begins. Simply because he's a gay man, basically he got caught
Being gay.
being gay and anyways, so he is a very deep, complex character. Him and his brother actually is also in the church, still in the church, and works under a cardinal, but basically an abusive cardinal that like has a dominating sexual relationship with him. But it's like his way to stay in his position.
That's where the good wine came from.
Yeah, and he sends him good wine because he gets like, you know, high quality goods being that close to a high connected person.
Matthew Hannicott is also an alcoholic.
Yes, he drinks a lot because his life is not that great after he gets booted from the church. And then the plague comes, and then...
Oh, I believe there was like one... He talks about how he had like one actual homosexual experience, and he like had one true love that then...
Yeah, it was a boy from his town. And they catch him with him.
And then after that, he kind of just became celibate because he was like, well, now I know what I am, but there's no place for me, you know?
Yeah.
And so then he just drinks because, you know, I mean, I can only imagine how much it would suck to be homosexual in 1200 AD or whenever this took place.
1348.
1348.
Yeah. Everyone is deep, except so in the church, it's kind of an open secret that a lot of the cardinals and bishops have gay relationships with the young men in the church. At least by the end of the book, it's pretty.
Boy, that really lasted a long time, didn't it?
Yeah.
That open secret stuck
like,
around.
But like, it's also for like lower class people a grave sin, you know. So it's just giant hypocrisy of that class, of that religious class of people.
Some things never change.
Yeah. And then Delphine, our third main character, essentially, is a young orphan girl. Plague takes her family, and she's just a weirdo for a long time. She doesn't really know what her deal is, but she's special.
She is special.
And I will say that one thing I really appreciated about the book was the way it didn't oversell, at least for the first 2/3 of the book. It doesn't oversell the magic aspects or the miracle aspects.
Right.
They're really kind of like in Game of Thrones, you know, for just as to throw an example out there, all the magical aspects, at least in the good seasons, are really underplayed. You know, they're
Subtle.
They're subtle, yes, and it's that subtlety that I really love in world building. You know, when you have magic and it's not just like Harry Potter, like fictiono, where you fix whatever it is by aiming a wand at it or something.
Speaking of Latin.
Yeah, exactly. That's the extent of my Latin.
I even like, they're even also, and like they obviously as the book progresses, it gets less and less subtle with those things. But particularly there are also like monsters, creatures, or demons. They're essentially demons that have come.
Really reminded me of Berserk. You
Yeah.
guys ever seen Berserk?
Yeah.
Scene.
Excellent.
Isn't it a manga?
It is a manga, but it's also an anime. It's a fantastic anime.
Yeah, and as you go throughout the book, like the first demon he encounters, like could be mistaken kind of for like a weird beast.
I thought it was a giant catfish at first.
Yeah, it's like a giant salamander catfish looking thing. And then, but as the story progresses, the monsters become more and more hellish and demon-like and more obvious that they're not of this world.
Yep.
Which
There's
is
some
really cool.
Yeah, there's some pretty gruesome aspects to the story, and by gruesome I don't mean like gory, but for instance, Jack and I were talking about this the other day when way later in the story, Tomas and Delphine end up in the capital or something, in the Duke or someone very important. Oh, the Archbishop, maybe his palace, and there's this moment where these prostitutes come out. And, you know, they're all flaunting everything and naked. And Delphine is talking to Tomas. And she's like, don't touch him, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, why? Look at him, you know? This is amazing. I haven't had anything. And she's like, don't do it. And he almost does.
It's like a party for the Pope.
Yes.
It's a giant feast before the Pope
Yeah,
arrives.
and he almost does. But at the last second...
She's grinding on him. She gets him
Yes,
stiff.
yes. At the last second, he doesn't do it.
Yeah.
And it's only later that he realizes that all of the prostitutes are corpses.
filled with warm milk or something.
Milk and honey. Yep. Filled with milk and honey.
I saw that coming.
So that they'd be warm to the touch. It was like a dark room. They couldn't, and they were wearing like veils over their faces and stuff. And all the other knights.
I want to talk about a visual nightmare.
It's absolutely
all the
terrifying.
knights were sleeping with corpses that were filled with warm honey.
Yeah. Yeah, it was gross.
Yeah, I mean,
Jayson
take what you
said-
can get.
They also.
Pretty sure that was your favorite part of the book, right, Jayson?
I have not gotten to that part of the book.
Well, as the story progresses, it also reveals to you that Delphine is of some like angelic nature or heavenly nature, and that it's
Strongly
also,
hinted at.
Yeah, and also that Satan or the agents of the devil or hell are also becoming aware of this and trying more and more actively to sabotage their kind of pilgrimage they're taking.
Yeah. Well, hey, before we run out of time here, let me just ask. Well, I don't know. Can we talk about the ending? Because I don't want to spoil it for Jayson.
Do you want to do a? It is kind of what Josh wanted to talk about the most because he had some issues with the ending, but Jayson hasn't finished it, so.
I'm still going to want to finish the book, right?
I don't know, man. I really
think
had
you will.
issues with it. Jack liked it a lot.
I didn't know. That's not what I said. I hate Josh puts words in my mouth
He really
every
does.
time.
Jack said it was his favorite book ever.
Jack's never seen this movie. Jack's never watched this or that.
Jack doesn't know how to read.
Yeah.
So, what? Delphine's the second coming of Jesus?
That's not what I'm talking about.
Wait, is that true?
Yes.
No, not really.
Yeah, no, it's 100% true. Okay, so at the end of the book,
I'm going to have to
how
read it
about
just to
this?
find out what happened.
Listen.
You're still not gonna know
I'm
what
not-
happened because he's
Jack,
just gonna tell you the wrong.
Let's not
stuff.
talk about how he gets there, so we won't spoil
Okay.
that. But we'll
All right.
say, basically, Tomas ends up in hell, and
She's not Jesus. She's a saint.
no, she's Jesus. They literally say that she's Jesus, and she comes down from heaven in her like spectral Jesus form and pulls Tomas out of hell and brings him back to life and puts him back into his own body. And then he just lives out the rest of his days. And then he goes on a journey and finds his wife and forgives her
in about
and
the
basically
last-
becomes a saint.
In the last like 20 to 30 pages of the book, they totally 180 the story from having this macabre and very succinct ending to like everything's actually ending really good for everyone. And everyone's back alive except for Matthew Hannicott.
What?
He's the only one who stays dead.
yeah.
Oh, right. I forgot about it.
Jesus. I cried, I think. I
Yeah.
was like, damn, bro.
It was a sad moment, and yeah, it was.
Wait a second, did he?
The story is a gothic horror novel, right?
Yeah.
And I was enthralled throughout this entire story, right? I loved it. I was like,
really
could
good,
not
really good.
wait. And then for the last like 60 pages, I was
It
just
was only
like,
20 a second ago.
I was just like jaw dropped, like, what am I reading? Like, what is this? This is.
They did, what do we call it? Goku-fied?
Yeah, they
when they just
Goku
bring you back from
Tomas.
the dead, or they Jon Snowed him. Yeah. I agree with Josh. I really hate that in writing or film or any type of media. If you kill a character, they have to stay dead.
Yeah.
Just don't, unless, like, jeez, oh man.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
It was so disappointing, and I was just like, plus there's all these like subtleties with the magic, you know, and then there's all these hints at Delphine's divine origin, and then at the end it's just
Yeah.
like, nope, she's Jesus and she rescues him from hell. Whoop-de-doo-de-doo. Everyone's happy and they live happily ever after, except for the gay priest. He can stay dead because God hates gays. Well, what else are we supposed to take from that?
Maybe he hates alcoholics.
Well, then Tomas would be dead too.
Tomas isn't an alcoholic quite at the same level as Matthew Hannicott.
Yeah, Tomas likes to get saucy, but not like on the regular, you know. But yeah, I agree. Like, he should have just earned his space in heaven and been forgiven for the bad things he did when he was a brigand, and you know.
It almost feels like a punishment to have to go back to the regular world.
Right? Yeah. After yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if he saved Jesus girl, maybe he should go to heaven for that.
Yeah. Well, like I was talking to Jack, there's several different ways you could have ended this, and it still would have been fantastic if you wanted to go the he goes to hell route at the end,
Right.
Either, okay, sure, he goes to hell and Delphine pulls him out. Fine. Let him stay dead. Don't bring him back
Go
to
to
life.
heaven,
Don't,
paradise, the ultimate thing for. Oh wait, helping God defeat Satan. Why isn't that man in heaven? Like,
No, go back to Earth and live in 1348 plague times for a little bit. If you're good enough, then you can get into heaven. It was just so frustrating to me to have such a amazing book end on such a ba-doom, and it was just.
Yeah, it didn't fit with any part of the rest of the story.
Yeah, it was very depressing. Jack definitely handled it much better than I did, because Jack usually does for everything.
Josh only likes an ending if it's macabre and very sad.
No, I like an ending if it's fits with the way, what the book set out. You know what I mean? The book started as a macabre horror story with a gothic setting, and
Do you
it
think
ends.
he took it to an editor and they were like, "Hey, you gotta add a happy ending to
No,
this,"
what
or
I think
something?
happened is, and I told you this the other day, I think that he fell in love with his characters, which is understandable. They're fantastic characters.
Yeah.
And whatever ending he may have had, he was like, "Oh, I don't know."
Except for Matthew Hancock.
Yeah.
Poor Matthew
Listen.
Hancock.
Listen, it's out of my hands.
Yeah.
Anyways, Jayson, now knowing that, how do you feel about it?
I'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, I don't like it, but I don't know if it's still as well written as the rest of the book.
It didn't detract from how good I think the book is for me nearly as much as it did for Josh.
Yeah.
I don't know if the first 400 pages are fine.
I'm forgiving.
Well, for me, it's a very similar thing. Actually, the three of us just talked about this the other day. Interstellar, the film. You guys love it. Think it's a masterpiece, and I think the first half is a masterpiece. But I will never forgive them for what they did to it, because Christopher Nolan's brother, his original script was a masterpiece, and then test audiences or whatever happened to it, they decided, you know what, we got to give this a nice, happy, friendly, dooby-doo ending. So they cut out the original ending where he gets sucked into a black hole and dies, because that's what happens if you go into a black hole.
You don't know that.
And
Yeah,
then
how do you know?
that.
Well, I don't think you turn into a bookshelf ghost, okay? I'm
But
pretty
just
sure
maybe
that's
you
not what
do.
happens.
Maybe you do.
Until you
doesn't-
can prove otherwise.
Does he get to come back to life at the end of that? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's okay.
And then he gets to go find...
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway.
Yeah. That's
But,
kinda
I mean,
weird.
he
Who's
still
still
misses
young.
his daughter's whole life and everything.
Well,
I mean,
happens.
it's not exactly a happy ending.
Right.
He gets to go bang the hot chick who somehow stayed young. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's
She
happy.
stayed young because she was out on the edge of the universe, bro.
Yeah, they really mathed their way out of that one.
Maybe they did.
I'm just saying, it's the same difference between Interstellar and Between Two Fires. You guys
both
appreciated the first two halves enough that the ending didn't ruin it for you. And it was the opposite for me, where I loved the first two halves so much that the ending completely ruined it for me.
How many halves are there in a hole?
All of them.
Still thirds, but yeah. Well, I'd love to see this made into some sort of film.
I'm not the hero the world wants, and I'm not the hero the world needs, but I am the hero that the world gets.
You can do
No.
it correctly. I'm gonna say that about everything.
No.
Who would you have play Tomas?
Matthew McConaughey.
Who's that guy?
Henry Cavill.
Interstellar.
Who's that guy who's literally starring in everything right now? He's the Mandalorian. He's in
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he's literally in everything.
No, I would have someone
He's supposed to be big, right?
older and grizzled.
Yeah. Sean Connery. No. Too old.
Also dead.
Yeah.
Oh. It's perfect.
Yeah.
We'll just have to get Jesus to get Sean Connery out of hell.
Yeah. All right, guys. We talked about this
Ratings?
quite a bit. Let's do ratings.
Fan favorite thing. Or,
Okay.
or aspect you really liked, maybe not favorite.
Sure.
One thing I really enjoyed was their demons they had in this. Baalzebub, I think they call him the Fly Lord, was one that comes at the end. All the monsters they interact with and like how they come. A lot of hands.
A fucking hand.
It's like a lot of weird hands in weird places.
I thought about that first too. I did that on purpose.
So that was really cool. Really cool part of it.
I was trying to squeeze you.
Are we on a 1 through 10 or 1 to 5?
1 to 10.
1 to 10. I give it a 9.
All right.
It would be a 10 if it had a different ending.
Okay, Jason.
8.8. I haven't read the last 100 pages. I really like the dreams and the descriptions of everything that's going on, and I don't really feels like a. Can I say drill trip?
Oh, the scene where the angels come down out of the sky and fight the giant demons, and it's like a giant storm over that one
that was-
city. That's a really
yeah.
cool part. I really like that. Great visuals.
I would say 7.5.
Jesus Christ, this guy.
I'd say it was a solid 9 until the last 60 pages. That ending, man, it killed it for me. It killed it hard. I just mouth agape the whole time, you know? And it sucks because I thought the guy had amazing descriptions. Oh, last thing that really hurt it a lot for me too was the body swapping. Anytime
Yeah.
there's body swapping in a story, it's so frustrating
I'm
to me.
pretty sure there's a plot hole in that part too that we discovered, Josh.
I've yet to encounter that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll get there. Maybe we're wrong, but I feel like there's
Yeah.
a plot hole in that
There may
part.
be a plot hole. But anyways, with that, thanks for watching, guys. And, you know, I'd say despite the negatives, it's still absolutely worth a read.
Yeah, if you like books.
Like books, read books. Books are good. This is Midnight Media.
Checking out.